Good evening, listeners. It's always a pleasure to have you on Rings That Bind. This program is brought to you by BRIDGEAFRIQUE, home of BLISS Incorporated, and Panacea Ville International. On this show, we interview couples to hear their story of success, how they are doing, and what they are doing to ensure that their marriage continues to blossom and thrive. We have different guests on every episode. Today, I am not the host of this show. Today, I am the guest in the show and will be sitting on the hot seat, so to say, with my husband. So let's welcome our host for today, Mrs. Oyeyemi, to take over from here.
All right, so good evening, everybody. It's great to be here again. Mrs. Nancy, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, Ma.
Brother Francis, too. Good evening, sir. How are you
Evening,
both
man.
doing?
We're doing
So
great.
today I have the singular honor, the singular privilege to drill the two of you. You're not the one drilling tonight. I'm the
It's
one.
okay.
I'm the one drilling.
It's allowed for today.
All right, so that's great. So let's kick it off.
That's
I'd
all right.
like the two of you to introduce yourselves to our audience. So
All right. They say
probably
ladies first. So let's
okay.
Okay, so but I'm already know. My name is Nancy Oblete. I'm a marriage coach, behavioral change expert. I have two girls together with my husband, and what else? Okay, I do business. I do business. Actually, my discipline is construction, so we have a construction firm together with my husband because he also is in the discipline, and we run both property management and
Oh, okay.
construction as well.
Mm,
So that's
all
Nancy
right.
Oblate.
Okay, so let's hear from him.
okay. Right. Well, my name is Francis Oblete. Um, I'm into construction. I do a little of the marriage stuff with my wife, though she's
Yeah.
the main person, the principal in that area.
Mm.
So I do a little of that stuff and a little of behavioral change work, a little men's talk as well.
Mm-hmm.
But majorly, I major in construction, agriculture, and properties, like she said. We have two kids. That's
That's
me.
great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's know their names. You have two girls. I'm sure
Yes.
you are the only man in the house.
yes.
How does it feel being the only man in the house?
I think anyway, it's kind of interesting because growing up, I've had ladies all around me. I grew up.
Mm,
I had two sisters
okay.
older than I, so I was in their
Okay.
midst. Then I have boys behind, then lady. Then at a point, I moved to stay with my eldest sister, and she had ladies, and I was taking care of them.
Great.
So it's not really strange. I've been amidst girls
Ladies.
before,
All right.
and it
All
is
right.
the same thing. Just that sometimes I feel, oh, I have somebody that we could um, play some kind of games together. Though I tried
Exactly.
to recruit my daughter into playing PS2 and the rest of that. So that's just the only thing. But
All right.
it's interesting having them around.
Yeah, they're blessing. Thank you, sir. So
Listen, I'm
back to
all
the business. Back to the business. Um, would like to know, the two of you, how did you meet? How, where, when did you meet?
Oh, yeah.
I'll allow Francis to talk.
We met some 20 or more years ago in school
Okay.
while we were in school in the University of Jos,
Okay.
precisely. Yeah, I met my wife. I was in my third year. She was in her first year. That's how we
Okay.
met. And
Okay.
I remember walking up to her one day and telling her, the normal boys and girls campus thing. That was my intention anyway. I walked up to her
Okay.
and I was like, I like you, all of that. She didn't object and she didn't say no, she didn't say yes. And we just kept going like that. At the point she was like, it can't, we're not meant to be, how did she even put it that we're not supposed to be together. I was like, why? That we both belong to two different kingdoms. And I was like, I don't understand. And then she now said, she is a Christian
Okay.
church folk. And I was like, I'm a Christian too. I go to church. And she was like, no, it's not just going to church. It's about being
Sure.
committed to Christ, knowing Christ. I was like, all my life, I was born into a Christian home. I'm like, so how
Yeah.
would she say all of that? And so she left that day, and I was in my mind, I was like, let her go. Say she's the only girl in the world. So after a while, I just told her, I said, come on. But me being committed to Christ, being a good Christian, is to my own advantage. Mm, that was the end of everything. That's how I now find myself in church, getting committed. I was attending a different church before, but that's how I now look for Redeem.
A
And found
living
myself,
church.
yes, found
All right.
myself in Redeem. And at the point, in fact, it got to a point she was even afraid that she doesn't want to get married to a pastor. She doesn't want to be a pastor's wife and all of that, the way I'm going and all of that. So that's just, that's how we met. And that's been the story. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So, at what point did love grow, Sister Nancy?
So uh, I particularly met him from a friend. We had just come into the department, we were new. And then she said she knows somebody in the department that is ahead of us, probably getting to know him. He will be able to help us settle into the department early. So that's how we met. She introduced us together. And we were friends for a while, but he was actually very instrumental to our study because he,
Okay.
he, he told us how to go about it. Since being an engineering course, kind of,
Mm.
a lot of people come into the department, they're afraid. They're afraid. There's a belief that it doesn't favor women and all. So we met somebody who was really passionate about the department, loved what he was studying, and was
Mm.
telling us bunk all those stuff about it not favoring women if we did our own part. So he became kind of like a school father. He will come check on us when we are in class, whether we attended lecture. I remember there was one day I came late. There was something that happened at home, so I couldn't make it early to school. By the time I got to school, I saw him and he was like, "Why are you late? It's not good. Try to come for your lectures early and all and all." That's kind of pep talks. so, so I think it was in our second semester that he finally made his intention known. And by the time we were ending the semester, that was when we actually started dating officially. Like we started dating then basically that's how it started. Yes, so he got so committed in church, went in like heads on and all, and I was like, wait, slow down, brother. It was like he came and overtook me and he was just racing. So I was like, please, oh, I before now all the people that be dating coming to ask me out were
Mm.
pastors, and me, I don't want to marry a pastor. Please take it
So, what's wrong
easy.
with pastors? What's wrong with pastors? Pastors are fantastic people.
Yeah,
Why were you
exactly.
afraid?
That believe that your life will not be your own, it will be about
Mm,
people. But right now, even though I'm not a pastor, my life is about
yeah.
people. So
Mm,
it's still actually the same thing.
mm. All right, that's great. So I want to know, I'm not yet clear. I want to know, at what point did you decide you wanted to marry her and she agreed to the extent that today she's your wife? At what point of the courtship?
Okay. In the period of courting her and being friends, I can't remember ever telling her that, okay, I want to marry you. But we kept
Okay.
going. We kept going.
Mm,
But she could read it from my physiology and everything. Was doing that. Okay, this guy wants to marry me.
mm,
So we just kept going like that. One of the reasons why I couldn't say I want to marry you is probably you would have said, okay, let's fix a day for it. And just coming from looking at my background and where I'm coming from, the resources were really against me to make a
mm,
commitment to
mm.
someone that, okay, I want to marry you. But it got to a point after my NYC. In fact, when I graduated, I remained in Jos because she was in Jos, while my
That's great.
folks were going out to do other things. I remained in Jos, and I knew it.
Hello, it seems his network has gone off.
Yeah. Maybe you take off from there.
Yes, so the thing is this, I think my ideology when I get into relationship is it's we are heading towards marriage. So we are
Yeah.
building. If we discover that it's not working, then we terminate it. But if it works, it's a progression. So we didn't
Mm,
have that point where he did this official proposal, I want to marry you. But all through, we were building, we were planning together, we were saving money together. He was already saving money with me while we were
yeah.
dating. When he
That's
got a
great.
house, we had planned together on where we wanted to live. So I was the one that went ahead to rent the place and to even buy
Wow.
the furniture from the money
Wow.
that was made. In fact, when we were putting up the place, the agent that took me to the house and everything thought we were already living together. So he called me like three weeks later and was like, I've been going to your place and it's empty. I said, no, it's not my place, it's my fiance's place. I just helped him. I just
To
helped
set
him
it
set
up.
it's not in town. That's why the place is empty. So that was how it was just a progression, kind of. Not we didn't have that formal proposal.
Proposal. Okay. All right. So this the for the past 13 years, I believe you've been together for 13 years.
By
How has it
November,
been?
it's
Oh,
been
great.
interesting.
How has it been?
It's been interesting. I think that one of the greatest benefits for us is that we started from friendship, and then we started
Yeah.
from a place that allowed us to be open,
Mm,
non-judgmental of each other. We knew a lot about ourselves before we even started dating because I had always been schooled that you don't start a relationship with romance. Start with friendship,
friendship.
build friendship, have a depth of friendship before you bring emotions into the equation because emotions sometimes can cloud our judgments and
Exactly.
how we approach life.
Exactly.
So because that was one of the reasons why I didn't say yes. Immediately he asked me, I knew that I liked him, but I didn't say yes because I needed to know who he was so that I don't get into relationship and then before you know you start seeing things that you don't want. Then you have to go through the whole heartbreak thing and also
Yes.
we were watching, and that helped us to build friendship. We have a lot of common friends till date because it was a school environment. So we still have some of those people in our circle, and then that friendship makes us talk a lot. Like we can gist for Africa. We talk a lot. He's my gossip partner, and it has translated even in our relationship.
That's great. I'm so happy for you. And I particularly like the idea that you grew from friendship to romance. It wasn't romance first, like what we have all around us in the world today. I believe that relationship should start with friendship, get to know one another, and over the years, if you're compatible enough, then you move on to the next level. I'm happy for you. I wish that he would just come back on here online
Yeah.
again so that we can also have more from him. Thank you. So
So
I'd like to ask you, it's been 13 years together, or let me say almost 13 years together. Is there a challenge that you think the two of you have faced, and up till now you are unable to surmount? Is there anything like that?
okay,
Or
so I
if there
wouldn't say
was one, or if there
yeah.
was one, how were you able to overcome it so that you
o-
can encourage young couples of today and make them know that it can actually work?
Okay. So I wouldn't say we have been unable to surmount, but I see it more like an ongoing challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
we just got an example today. We are not in the same town right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
He's
Exactly. That's
somewhere
the challenge.
Taraba, and I am, is it Taraba or Adamawa? Adamawa, and I am with the
Wow.
children in Abuja. And he's been
Wow.
gone for over a month.
Wow.
So this has been one of the things we have been working towards. Right now is better. When we got married initially, now, okay, when we got married initially, because we didn't have children early by design, we decided that we will not have children immediately. We wanted to
Mm,
settle into our marriage and take some time before we start having kids. So
mm,
it was okay then, because when he travels for work, since I'm in the same field, we go together, and it was really fun. I remember sometimes there was one time I went with him to Yola, and we were doing a job at Yola. Then I was called to come and supervise a job in Benue. I left him in Yola. I came to Benue, did the job, came back to Jos, then went back to Yola to meet him. So we had that traveling a lot when we started, until we started having kids. Then I had to step back because the children need somebody to be there. So but then I still believe till tomorrow that a family is meant to stay together, and the best that can happen within the family circle is when the couples live in the same house and in the same town.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
we have been working towards it. Right now is better than when we started. I think for the past 2 years, this is the first trip he has taken. But there was a time it was really much. There was once he was gone for 6 months,
Mm,
complete 6 months, yes. And
six
that
months.
that was so challenging. It was so challenging because there were many things that were affected. Our communication was affected. The place where he was didn't it wasn't it was in Nigeria, but very close to the boundary at KB. So they use KB line. There was no Nigerian network there. Then he couldn't be on the internet as
Mm,
often as he should have. Then also because they are using Niger phone numbers, the tariff
mm.
was very high. So what you
Hi.
would use to speak for 5 minutes or 4 minutes, you'll be using it to speak for 1 minute. So
Wow.
for that 6 months, and then where the site was, once he's on site, there's no network. We will not be able to communicate until he leaves there and come back. And those periods, if you ask me, those were the hardest period in our relationship. It was challenging. It was during that time one of my daughter fractured her hand. I was
Who?
at home. The younger
Who?
one, I was at home with her. They just brought her. I was in the kitchen. I just left them. Less than 3 minutes after I walked into the kitchen, I heard a cry, and they ran in with her friends and brought her. And I said, "My, her hand, her hand." I held the hand, and it was bent here in the middle. I said, "But this is not elbow. Elbow is here." I looked at it. Hey, I just went inside and changed immediately and said, "Come, let's go." So that's why I put her inside the car, and then we drove out. He was not there. I sent him a message so that when he sees it, he'll be able to respond. It was challenging going through all that without him, without him being present, without his his, his input. Those that emotional space. and all. So that is one challenge that we have had to work through. Like he knows when he's going, even when we are in the midst with other people, we'll be saying sorry while going. They may not understand why he's saying sorry, but I know why he's saying sorry because he knows that as he's leaving, I'm hurting that he's leaving
Exactly.
and
Mm,
all. So it's something
mm,
that we put some modalities in place. It's one of the
mm.
reasons we had to leave the town where we were staying to move over to Abuja because there it was like he had to be if he's around, that means he doesn't have a job. But once he had a job, he was out of town.
You must
So we had
move.
to move to somewhere where he has more of his jobs and we can be together as a family. So that's how we are managing it. Like and
Mm,
then he takes very it's rare for him to take jobs now that takes him out of town so that he can
mm.
be with us more.
I can imagine because I've experienced that in the past. My husband was in Kano for about 9 years, and we were
Wow.
in Lagos. So I can relate very well with what you are saying. Sometimes it's as if everything is crashing down on one, especially when
Yeah.
you have emergencies at home. I can imagine. Thank God, Mr. Oblete is back now. So I want to hear
Sorry.
from you. You were saying
Okay.
something.
No, it's you asked at what point I told her I was going to marry her. I
Yes.
think that was a so sorry. It's the network where I am presently was under Boko Haram
Okay.
before, so the place was liberated not long. So
Okay.
we keep having this network problem.
All
So
right.
all of the network just disappeared. I had to switch to my MTN, and the
Oh.
MTN too is not really strong. Now, that was exactly what happened. I've never really left. I didn't really leave Jos while she was there. So I kept going back, going back. So, and then one day I just opened up, I just told her, okay, we're going to get married. And she was like, okay, we just fix a date and then all of that. In fact, she was so instrumental to the whole stuff. You know, while I was
Mm,
still doing boyfriend and girlfriend, I
mm,
was working in Taraba. I was sending her. I was actually squatting with my cousin, one of my cousins. So I was sending money for her for upkeep, just the way a boyfriend, a guy would lady. But she kept those money. She wasn't spending it on herself.
can you
She went,
imagine?
got a house. She rented a house and called me. I was like, I've gotten a place. I was like, how? He said, no. I said, she has got it so that when I come back to Jos, I don't have to go to my cousin's house anymore.
So,
That since I can't be there and we'll be talking about marriage and all of that. I was like, okay, how did you get money? That's the money that I used to send for her. I was like, but I
mm,
just sent it for your upkeep. That's
mm,
how we got our first apartment. Even the furnitures in the house, she still bought it with the little that I was sending for her. I came one day, she was like, I've deposited for a chair. Let's go and see it. And we went, and the whole thing was like, wow. So that's how we just fixed a day for November or November
mm.
2010, and we got married, and here we are today. So she has really been uh, very instrumental to the whole process. But I can't really say at this point I knelt down and proposed, gave her a ring, started the ring in the ice cream and all of that. No, we
All
didn't do that.
right.
We're just building our friendship.
A relationship.
Yeah, we're building a relationship, building a friendship. So we are, in fact, she's my best friend, if you ask
Mm,
me, and she sees me as her best friend. So we communicate with each other non-verbally because of the relationship and friendship we have built over the years. And I think that is one of the things that is keeping us going. I heard her talking about my job, going, leaving them, and all of that. Yeah, it's really it's been a challenge, and each time she brings that up, and she always brings it up most often. I'm leaving, I'm this and that, and initially I used to react to it, but recently, I learned to respond to that. And I discovered the response is actually bringing a result, positive result to all of that. It was actually a big issue, and this is one of the things that we have not really settled up till now. But I think we are managing it very well, better than how it used to be, because I chose to respond instead of reacting to that.
That's great. All right, so I want to ask the two of you, how has it been with your in-laws? In-laws. How have you been able to manage in-laws? How do you respond to in-laws? How have you coped with in-laws on both parts? So I want to hear. Let's hear from Sister Nancy first. Let's hear
Okay,
from her
so
first.
I guess that I've been very fortunate with my in-laws. Now
Mm,
my mother-in-law passed just I think 3 years
215,
before
215.
215. Okay, we got married 210 and then she passed 215. Our daughter was just barely 1 year old, and so and oh, my major connection with my in-laws have been through his older sister, because she is the one that is like the mother to all of
to them.
them. He grew up
Mm,
with her, and the fact he said that even when while we were dating, that anybody his sister that he takes to his sister is the person he's getting married to. So he placed her with very high regard
mm,
right from the beginning. And so
mm,
I've been very close with her. We've had a very good relationship. Her
mm.
children come to my place often. They are older. They are way older than us.
Your
They're in the
children.
university and oh yes. So they've come to our place several times to spend a length of period and go back. So I've not had any issue with my in-laws, basically. Nothing.
All right. So let's hear from him.
I think I'm more fortunate to have the kind of in-laws I have. Um, my father-in-law sees me as a son. He sees me as a son, so we've not really had problem. Since we got married, both my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, none of them had ever called me to demand for anything. So we've not had problem. Rather, if each time I see my father's in-laws call, I know it's prayers, and
Mm,
it's just prayers, 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 long prayers. And initially, I was like, but at the point, I was like, thank God that He's calling me for prayers and not for anything. Thank God
mm,
for the kind of in-laws I have. My mother-in-law sees me as a son as well. In fact, there are things she would tell me that she will not even tell my wife. It's like we sometimes she confides in me to tell me some certain things about my wife. She did this, she did that, and it's been a wonderful relationship with my in-laws so far. We've had a very good relationship. I'm considered in the house as a son, not just an in-law.
right. It means both of you are quite lucky with your in-laws, because we
Yeah.
have around us so many people who have great challenges
Yeah,
with their in-laws. You even found young people praying that the husband they are about to marry doesn't have a mother or
yeah.
doesn't have a father. So if you have been lucky, then it's something that we should celebrate. I'm
So
quite
if I may,
happy with
yes, if I
Thank
may
you.
add something here, then there's something else. There's something we also do with our in-laws, like with my dad, because like he said, my dad prays, and
you.
then even though we are of the same faith and we don't have the same understanding towards
Yeah.
scripture, and so there are places that he wants to go for prayers that we do not want to go for prayers. So one of the things we have done to ensure that our relationship is maintained cordial, especially with him and his son-in-law, is that I'm the one that always takes those kinds
Decision.
of conversations. Yes, not we can decide, but I'm the one that presents it as my own decision. So, like he says, "Oh, let's go to XYZ for prayer," or "I want you to call XYZ," and I'll tell him, I say, we so appreciate the fact that you want us to pray, but I would rather go to my pastor than go
Mm.
to this place. So he sees it,
Mm.
and in fact, sometimes he feels like I'm the stubborn one that I don't like his prayers
Yeah.
and all. But it has also helped to ensure that he and my husband do not have so confrontations at all about that thing. He just thinks it's me. Once
Mm.
I am told, I'm the one that refuses. So, but that's our own system, so that we keep it cordial. And then when anything is
Yeah.
coming from us, whether I'm the one that bought it or he's the one that buys it, once it's going to my
Mm.
own parents, it's from him. That's the message we pass. This is from my husband to you, and all. And then vice versa. When he's sending anything also to his own people, it's from me. It's me that is sending it. Sometimes he will send me the message and say, do the transfer yourself, so that it
All
leaves
right.
from your account. He's the one transferring it
Exactly.
to my account, but it's me that is transferring it to them, to ensure that we keep
Wisdom.
us together. We
Happy.
keep that relationship going, especially because they are in-laws. If my parents have problems
Exactly.
with me, they will always accept me. They don't
Mm.
have where to throw me. But if they have problems with him, it may last longer and linger. So that's something else we do to ensure that that
Mm.
continues.
That's a lot of wisdom. That's great. There's something I would also like us to discuss. It's social media. Social media and how it affects husband and wife relationship. I have had so many complaints um, trying to settle issues for young people. My wife spends so much time on the social media. I cannot tolerate it. My husband is devoted to the social media. I don't like it. How do you feel, sir, when you see your wife just on the phone for hours on ending? How do you feel? Do you feel threatened? Do you feel she has abandoned you? How do you feel? Let me know, sir.
Okay. Fortunately, I've not really had issue with that. My wife is the social media person because she's
Okay.
always posting one thing or doing one thing,
Oh, the other.
or attending one seminar or speaking in one seminar online and the rest of it. It's just a few cases I would like. It's just like, don't you think you've been on this phone for long?
Mm,
Probably because she always complains about her eyes, but I don't feel threatened in any way.
okay.
My concern is because of her eyes.
Else, yeah.
Long exposure to the screen would affect
Mm,
her eyes, and sometimes she experienced some headache. And
yeah.
I remember telling her that it's because of exposure to screen, the
Mm,
light from the screen, all of that.
mm.
So basically, we've not really had issue with phone. If I am online, it's either I'm just watching cartoon or cartoon or one of those few comedies that are really morally okay to
All
to
right.
listen. But basically, I only send messages on WhatsApp when necessary, and then get to my inbox to read one or two. But we intentionally work on that. That when we are
Mm,
together, the phone or whatever, it's secondary.
mm,
Secondary. So, like I say, she is the social media person. Mostly, she's
mm.
always doing one thing or the other. So it has not really been a challenge for us. Where I don't feel threatened when I see her on social media because I know what she's doing. In most cases, she calls me. I was like, "Come and see this." Somehow she was like, "This is what I am responding to." This social person posted something like this, and I think it's not right. So I have to rest.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell her, don't, just ignore, leave. But she will, it's like no, do you know how many people will buy into that idea? Most especially if it has to do
Mm,
with marriage, relationship, or God. She wants to correct whatever. I'm like, no, don't bother. But because of the people that whatever is being posted will affect, she goes, and I'm like, okay, no problem. So it's not a problem to us at all. I'm more of the laptop person. And
okay, let's hear from her. Let's hear from her. Let's hear from her.
You know, like he's right. The major thing we've been able to do is balance, because I do a lot on social media. I have a podcast, I have a group. I have two groups, one on Facebook, one on WhatsApp. So it requires a lot of time to do the posting, respond to comments, answer questions, and then of course there's also streaming. So I do a lot on social media, but we balance. Now a lot of the time in the evenings when he's back from work, we have time that we drop our phones and just talk to each other. One of the ways we do this to ensure that it happens is that we take walks together. So that because when you are working, you cannot be punching your phone and be working. So we take walks together so that we balance that time and spend time talking with each other and all. And like he said, if I'm doing something and he's there, I am not
Yeah.
just doing it forgetting about him, but I'm bringing him into the conversation, asking him
Okay.
what his thoughts are about that thing and all. If he's the one watching all those funny cartoon, my husband likes porn. He's very playful, even with the children. So if he's watching something funny, we all gather and stand behind him with the children, or we sit by the sides with the children, and all of us are watching and laughing. So that helps us to still feel connected even when we are doing some other things.
That's great. That's great. So this time around, I would like to know, you've been together for 13 years. Is there
Yes.
anything you have observed in one another that you think wasn't there before? Is there a change that you think I would have preferred if you don't do this? Is there something like that? Probably you would like to share it with us.
Well, she probably might have seen one or two things, but the only thing I observed, which is to me, it's a slight change from is that she was very uh, strict and rigid. Yeah, rigid. She was very rigid. It has to be like this. It has to be like that. If she says it's like this, it has to be. And I remember telling her sometime, quoting scripture for that, a rigid straw will the wind break from
Mm,
Isaiah. I remember telling her, but she's so rigid. But thank God that now she's a kind of, maybe because of the children or because of what
mhm.
she has known over the years, she's kind of flexible now. Because, okay, like my wife before, she says, uh, you are coming, look, for example, I travel for work and she's like, and I tell her I'm coming on Friday. If it's that Friday, she doesn't see me, it's going to be an issue. You said you are coming on Friday, but you didn't come. No matter the explanation, but thank God now, I think I could see a little compromise, compromises here and there. If I don't come and I call and I was like, sorry, this is why it's okay now. But then it wasn't like that. It has to be. So basically, that's just the changes I've seen, I've noticed in her. Like I said, we built friendship over the years. So it's like 90 something percent of what I need to see or needed to be seen in the future, I've seen them.
In
But
her.
yeah, we can always make one or two compromises here and there and then
Thank
grow a
you.
little this way and grow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So let's hear from you.
Okay, so from him, I think that is me that has changed more in this relationship. Maybe I don't know, but that's how I feel. I feel like right now I'm more goal oriented. And then this stubbornness that he's talking about, of inflexibility that he's talking about, has melted a bit, but I still hold on to the focus part of it. That when I put my attention to do something, I have to do it. Like we just so like for instance, rings that bind. Once the idea came and we had put into things together to start, I didn't know how it was going to start, but I kept at it. I kept at it. I kept at it until we just found ways. Because initially we wanted to do recording, we needed a studio, all those things. Eventually, we found ways around it. So I focus on those things and then I keep pushing until a way opens and it happens. So that's the same thing I do even when it comes with things that we want for our children, how we
Yeah.
want them to go, where we want them to go. And also, I think that's one of the major things I would say has changed about me. For him, okay, maybe he used to be like he used to read more than books, book wise. Now he's more visual. he would rather have more visual content. So instead of reading a book, if he has a book and he has a video to watch, once the video is educational, you first of all watch the video than reading the book. But it's not so much of a challenge because he's still learning, he's still growing, and we are still exchanging ideas together. He still reads books, just not as much as I do
before.
right now. I read far more books than he does now.
All right, so let me ask you a question. That question is for you. Has he ever raised his hand against you?
No, never, never, never. Not even once.
Not even an attempt?
No. Okay, I think when we got married, there was one argument we were having, and then he came really close, and then he put his hand here like this, and was like, "You better stop this! You better stop that!" And I looked at him and said, "Wait, you want to beat me? You want to beat me?" So he just pulled back, and that was it. After that, it had never happened again that he even pointed his finger that close to me, let alone touch me at all.
Were you able to resolve that? Were you able to talk about it?
Yes, but not immediately. We had
Mm,
to
mm,
waited for a while. Then we sat
mm,
down and we had
mm,
conversations. We also agreed on certain rules that
mm.
we keep. Like for example, no matter how angry we are, we sleep on the
Yeah,
same bed. So
yeah,
nobody sleeps in the parlor, nobody sleeps on the same bed. There are certain things
yeah,
we cannot say to each other, no matter how angry we are.
yeah,
You would rather say, let's have this conversation later, but we will not use certain words. I remember when we got married initially, that initial stage where you are trying to balance um power in the marriage, in the relationship and all. So at some point, I think one of one of us said to the other person that I shouldn't have married you. I shouldn't have married you at all. So by the time we were resolving, we sat down and said, okay, we don't ever go there. We are
yeah,
here for the door. So since we
yeah,
are inside, that door is
yeah.
closed. It's not a door to open and all. So we put those modalities in place, and it never happened again. After we talked about it, we apologized to each other. I apologized for pushing him that far, for not recognizing that he was getting really angry.
Exactly,
We have kept
exactly,
quiet and waited for him to
exactly,
cool down. He also
exactly.
acknowledged that he should have just walked out instead of
Mm,
like making that decision, and then it ceased. We never had it again.
mm. So what I've been able to get from there is that for every relationship, we must set a standard for one another. There are some things we just must not do to one another. No provocations, no unnecessary provocations. And no matter how angry you are, you don't raise your hands against one another. There are issues, you can always sit down and talk about it. That's what I've been able to gather from what you have said. I know that in relationships, there are some situations that may come up and you are unable to control, but our level of our temperament, we must be able to put it in check at every point in time. Be it man, be it woman, we must be able to put our temperament on check. And our children are looking at us. Everything we are doing, they are recording. You
Mm.
understand? You might not even know, but the children are recording. And when they go outside, they want to behave exactly the way mommy has behaved. They want to behave exactly daddy has behaved. We are their standard. And I pray that the Lord will help us to be good standards. One
Amen.
other question I would like to ask. I'm sure you must have mentors,
Mm.
people you look up to in marriage. Who are those people? Who are the people that they are your standard? Say, if only we can live our life like these people. And what is it that you have seen in the lives of those people?
Okay, so yes, we have Pastor and Mrs. Barnabas Alliance. They've also been guests on the show, and
Okay.
interestingly, they, they are not they are our pastors, but we are older than them in marriage. But
Okay.
then they have a very sweet connection that endears us to them, and their openness, their willingness to learn is another
Mm,
thing that endears us to them. They are
mm,
so open. Pastor is somebody that can, when they were having their anniversary, their 11th year anniversary, it was this year. So they sent me a message and said they are 11 years into their marriage, and they want to do an assessment to just check and make sure that they are covering all bases, if there's somewhere they can improve and all.
Yeah.
And for me, it makes me respect them more. So we look up to them. We know that if we have issues and we have to call somebody to say this, we are having this challenge, they are the first people that will come to mind to say, can you help us resolve this? We're having this challenge and we are finding it difficult to walk through it.
Mm. That's a key. I got something there. We must sit back and evaluate one another at the end
Yeah.
of the day. Mm. That's a big one. A very, very big one. All right, so maybe we can go further. Can we talk about finance in marriage? Can we talk
Yeah.
about finance?
Sure,
Yeah.
And
sure. Very important.
please let's talk about it, sir. All right, sir.
Okay. Fortunately, finance is one of the topics we treat, uh, whether we are dealing with premarital counseling classes or with married couple. In our own relationship, finance has never been a problem for us, and it's simple. Uh, we are open. We are open with our finances. Uh, the money coming in doesn't belong to anybody in particular, and we tell people, don't copy our style. This is what works for us. If it doesn't
Mm,
work for you, look for what
mm,
works for you. The fact that
mm,
it's working for us doesn't mean it will work for you. You may try it. If it works, fine and good. So we we all have our different accounts. She has her accounts, one or two accounts. I have one or two. But any penny that is coming in, she's aware. Even before the money comes, I'll be like, I'm expecting so amount. The same thing with her. She'll be like, I did this and I'm expecting. So like, she is the manager. She's better with managing finances. She's a good manager. Anybody can
mm.
give her money, give her the say, if you like, market. After some time, come back, she will give you the same thing. So she's better with managing. So once money comes, initially I used to send everything to her. Then I'll go back asking her for what to, I want to go out, I want to, and you must tell her why you need that money, what you want to use it. If it's on a frivolous or just wait, she may not even give you what you're asking for. But if it's something that good, let's say you want to transport, you want to buy charge card and all of that, she can release such fund. So she has been the one managing our finances, and she's very good at that. And we've not had problem with it. No headache. This is not, if whatever is not in the house, she knows it's her responsibility to get it fixed. But that doesn't stop. That doesn't stop me from bringing home. Even if I give her and I go out, I get some money, I still buy whatever is still at home and I bring. So I've not really had issue with finance, either the volume or that's the volume, the absence or the presence of money,
Mm.
whether we have it in abundance or we don't have it. Money has never been a problem because of how open we are with our finances and because of management skill that I entrusted everything that has to do with our money to her. So
Thank you
she's
so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I like the testimony that you have given about her. I don't have to ask her anything again. He has said
I want to, I
everything.
want,
but she
I want
has
to
some insight into finances, how she does it and all of that.
point.
One or two people may want to gain from it.
All
I
right,
want.
so let's hear from her then.
There's something also we do now because of how prudent, will I use, I am about money. Our children initially were struggling because they will not go to um like go out for
Wildlife
outings.
park.
Money on those things on a normal day, it doesn't cross my mind. So we had to balance. That's why he said initially he used to give me everything. But now he takes a certain percentage, a small percentage, so that he covers his own immediate needs. And then if
Mm,
he wants to do something extra for the children,
mm,
like they go out, have some fun, he
mm.
can use that part. Because if the money enters my hand, the possibility to go to shop right may be very slim. So and then another thing we do is that sometimes he still sends the money, but he will tell me so amount is for is for going out with the kids. We are going out at this time. So I've also learned that from him, that we have to balance this thing. We cannot be all strict and all. The children need to go out. They will need funds for that, to have that experience as well, so that they are not starved on one side and then just benefiting
Exactly.
on the other side. So that's one thing
Exactly.
we've done. Then we also play on our strengths. So money that is for saving, whether it is my something that I want, something we want as a family, or something that he wants, I save the money. But then he's very good with fabrics. My husband knows how to combine colors. He knows a lot about fashion. So when it comes to fashion, whether it's for me or for the children, he's the one that is in charge. It is his.
Really?
Yes, I'm telling you, he would be able to pick out the clothes and say this will go well with this. Sometimes he doesn't buy it, he will snap it and send it to me and say, I like this, can you get this? So I already have an image or an idea because
Idea
he has. But he is more fashion conscious or fashion
than
oriented than
you.
I. So we
Wow.
also send money that way. If we need to buy things that are like shoes, all those kind of stuff, he can hold that money and do that spending.
That's great. That's a fantastic one. You hardly find women who don't wish to spend money. So you you're an exception.
Yes, she is.
You're an exception, a big exception for that matter. So I've really learned a lot from the two of you tonight. And I want to be an Oliver Twist. I don't want you to just go just like that. I have one or two more questions for you,
Talk,
and I hope
so,
you will indulge me. I
Yeah,
want to
definitely.
ask you. I know Mrs. Oblite is a marriage coach. How did you come into it? How did you start it? What
Okay,
what
so
motivated you into it?
I would say life. My parents were doing well, both financially and in their marriage until when we were teenagers, and they began to struggle. So it affected their
Mm,
relationship. There was
mm,
a lot of quarrels, no violence really, just verbal words. But the house had tension. There was tension
mm,
at. So I didn't used to spend, as in I was always looking for where to go so that I don't spend time at home. I'll go to church every single day, whether I had an activity to do or not. I'll just be in church or in my
wow.
pastor's house. That was my escape. So in those days, I promised myself, I said, whatever it will take to make my children feel comfortable, I want to stay home. I was going to do it. I guess God helped me because I had no idea how to bring it to
Mm,
pass. Only that
mm.
as singles, we all know how to love until we find ourselves in the marriage and now say, I thought it was just love this
Easy.
person. So, but
Mm,
before our marriage, we were asked to go for premarital counseling, and our counselors were so thorough. Our counselors they brought in a lot, not just spiritual, they brought in psychology, they brought in so much. And we went through that counseling process. It was so thorough, so detailed. And by the time we were ending, because of our dedication and commitment during the process, it was so demanding, but we were dedicated. They asked that we understudy them to learn and also become counselors. So by the time we were 1 year into our marriage, we had started working with them to counsel other intending couples and all as we were learning. And then the passion and desire just kept growing because now we are
mm,
having a good marriage, we are enjoying it. We are also seeing how to teach other people to have this same experience. So we went into more studies. I went to do NLP, neuro linguistic programming, which is a hybrid of psychology, and also that I understand that perspective too and blend it with what we were already doing. And that's how all this was born from our desire to make our own marriage work and eventually to help other people, because now that we know the way, it will be evil not to show other people the way. So it is even one of our visions as a couple that will help as many people down the road to have the bliss and happiness in a marriage that they should have.
mm. That's great. Thank you so much. Still in that line, I'd like to know, you know, these days you find out, like I said before, We are also into marriage counseling, and we have heard from so many of our couples where sex is a big issue. Sex a big issue. So many of our women have complained that the men aren't romantic. That is it true? That men aren't romantic. All the men want to do is just get it done with. Is it true, sir?
It's not a straightforward. You can't say it's an absolute yes and absolute no. You see, the being romantic is quite different from sex. So if they say a man may not be romantic, but he will be very good at sex because
Yeah.
so it's possible. And a man may be romantic and very terrible
Mm,
on the bed. So
mm,
but basically men are not as romantic as a woman is, and I think it all boils down to the the nature of a man, how men are wired. You know, we
mm,
men are logical beings. So everything that a man has to do has to be logical. You are, okay. If and you know men are they all they know is conquest, to conquer, to go gaming. If you even trace the origin of man, the first all these things they are tied to the DNA of a man.
of
A
men.
man wants to go hunting, he wants to conquer, he wants to and all of that. So he doesn't have that time to start going romantic. Every man that is romantic learned it. But that's where the problem is. A lot of men have refused to learn. So they are frozen in time. So, but a man can learn to be romantic and very sex. You see, if you did not test different, you did not sample different food, you wouldn't know which one is better, or which one is salty, or which one is more pepperish. You know, it is the quest for most women that have maybe had multiple experience with sex, of sex, that we know that okay, this man is not better in bed. This one is better. So if you are used to one particular thing, you don't know that there is something outside of it. So I think we need to balance that, to balance it. Of course, men are not as romantic as a woman is, but every man needs to learn it. But when it comes to the issue of sex, I think because of our exposure to different sex partners, that's what is selling that idea to us that this man is more is he perform better than
What
this,
do you
perform
think,
better.
sis? Sister Nancy, what do you think?
Okay, so I think that when it comes to sex, people have different, women are different from men in terms of what they even need from sex, and how much and what to do to pleasure them. So a man can understand his biology and be an automatic place. It's something that we have to learn together. So we did feedback after the whole thing. What did you like? What didn't you like? What should I do more? You know, those kind of conversations. And then we use a lot of non-verbals. So like we are having
Mm,
sex, I can move his hand from where I want or where I don't want to where I want, how I want it. And also that's something we did. And I also agree that because we are having more problems with sex because a lot of people are having too many experiences that are clouding their minds. I know that one man
exactly.
told me, he said that he got married to his wife, but every time he was in bed with her, he was in bed with six others because he will remember how Chinyere does this, how
Mm,
Nkechi did the other one,
mm,
but his wife
mm,
is not also doing that. So I think that that's one of the major challenges why we, instead of having, now that they say we are having experience when it comes to sex, we are having more problems in marriages with the
mm,
same sex because
mm,
the experience is now also becoming a hindrance. It is,
mm,
we were never intended to have experience for this. We were intended to grow through it. So compatibility comes through growth. not because one person was a professional by sampling
Yeah.
100
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
into,
Yeah.
into this. So for me, that's it. And for us, that's what we did. Once we got married, we were talking. It was a communication thing. After, did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Maybe I say not as much as yesterday. So what happened yesterday that didn't happen today? Then we have that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So I want to do something. I'm sure you were not expecting it.
You
Um,
know,
you were not expecting it, but I'm going to drop it.
it's
So, what
okay.
size of shoe does your husband wear?
My husband wears 43. And then if the shoe is small, 44.
Is she correct?
Yes, she is.
Clap for
It's
her.
43.
So, what's our best food? What's our
And
best food?
rice, our best food is rice and cassava leaf.
Is it correct?
100%.
What's our best color? Our best color.
She doesn't have a particular color. I choose color for her. So, but I think
Actually, that's true. You are the fashionista in the house.
Yeah.
Oh, very great, 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 great. So what does he like most? A television program, maybe a movie. Um, what does he like most?
reading books.
Okay. Yes, but
I'm not
you see,
asking you.
no,
Oh,
no, he's
I
visual.
thought it's my wife.
Okay. He's visual,
I,
so he likes watching. He likes watching good movies. He likes watching detective, investigative movies like that, and then also documentaries.
All right. So, um, um, what do I want to ask you again? Um, what club does it belong to?
she
I
used
mean,
to
you are not
like
a football
Arsenal.
person. Ah,
She used to
you're
like
already
Arsenal, but
helping her. You are
No,
helping
no,
her
sorry.
to answer it.
he's talking about me. I used to be an Arsenal fan.
Okay.
Yes, but now
Okay.
she
Oh, you're a
doesn't.
football fan too.
I'm not
Yeah, no,
really. I like
before.
watching, but
Star Nancy, are you a football fan?
Yes, no, not now, but during my school days
school
and
days.
all, yes, I used to watch football. I loved football. I would watch the whole tournament of a World Cup. I would watch leagues and everything, but now I rarely watch football.
Wow. Very enlightening. I've really enjoyed myself with the two of you. It's been a fantastic time. And I'm truly honored to have been invited to drill the two of you. Thank you for inviting
It's
me.
a pleasure.
I
Thank you
appreciate
A
it.
so much
pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so,
coming on
so,
the
so
show.
much. Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you so
So,
much.
this is where we're going to stop. I'm going to hand over to our regular host, Sister Nancy Oblete.
Thank you so
so
much, man.
so
Thank
much,
you.
Mrs. Oyeyemi, for accepting to do this. It was strange being on the receiving end almost all through. I'm always the one asking people, and all this time around, I'm the one answering the questions. And it was interesting. I hope, listener, that you've learned something. And remember that you can always send us feedback. You can tell us what you liked. You can ask questions, and we'll always get back to you. Thank you for being with us today again. We hope to catch up with you next week as we bring another couple and have another experience when they tell us their story. Have a beautiful night rest. It's goodbye from all of us here.
Bye.